Okay, what are we doing today? We're doing fish and chips, and that's even better than just having a pint in your favorite pub. So when you make them at home, it's a big deal, right? Nope, doesn't have to be, but they're really good. A lot of people, when they make fish and chips, it's all about what? The batter. And for other people, it's about the chips. For other people, it's about the fish. For me, it's about everything. So I am going to show you my take on the classic beer batter fish and chips, otherwise known as French fries in this country. So I don't know, let's just get to it. I'm going to show you my take on tartar sauce. You can make this, I don't know, 3 weeks in advance, really, if you want, because once it's refrigerated, you got it sealed nice and tight. There's really not that much that can go wrong with it or bad with it. But I tend to just make it like either the day before if I know I'm going to be doing this, or just earlier in the day, because the longer it sits, the better it tastes. So we're going to start with the base, which is mayo. And I'm going to say use the best mayo you can find. You've got to have pickles. I like the pickles because you get nice big chunks. After that, I like to put some shallot. You can use red onion. I like to put capers. I like to also put a little bit of dill, fresh dill, and some tarragon. Now, you don't have to put either one of these in if you don't want, but I kind of like an interesting tartar sauce, and I like one with a little kick. So if you get the pre-sliced, that's fine. If you get the normal, whole dill, that's fine. I like to cut them into little, just slightly less than a 1/4 inch dice. Right, see, like this. So they're not too big, and yet they're not too small. You get some texture. If you like a lot of dill, put a lot of dill. If you don't like a lot of dill, don't put a lot of dill. You gotta have dill if it's gonna be tartar sauce. Pickles. And I like shallot. Doesn't really matter. You can use, say, red onion. I just basically like the fact that the shallot has a very nice onion flavor, but it's not too sharp. So we'll put the shallot in there. Now, another ingredient that I like to put in mine, and you don't have to, is capers. And you can put them in whole, but I kind of like to chop mine up like that. Ooh, I've got some dill, and you can use dried dill. I like the flavor of the fresh dill, and tarragon as well. And then I've got some flat leaf Italian parsley. So I've got those 3 herbs, right? Dill, tarragon, and parsley. Okay, just give this a fine chop. That goes in there. Isn't that looking pretty already? Look at that. And then mustard. And you don't want this to be a mustard sauce, but you do want some zing. This is not traditional, but I like to put a little bit of Tabasco because I want a little kick, maybe one more. You normally put lemon juice, which I'm gonna do, but I also like to put a little bit of the zest in there. It gives it a brightness that kind of merges well with everything else. So just the zest of 1 lemon. It's about a tablespoon. And then I'm gonna cut this in half. And yes, I'm not gonna use my juice press today. I'm going to go old school and use my hand. Salt and pepper. As much as you'd like. I like a lot. As always, I'm using diamond kosher salt. And that's pretty much it. You're like, well, that's a lot of stuff to put in there. Yeah, but it's really good. And there's your tartar sauce. Here's a little secret. If it's a little on the runny side, okay, you're like, well, that's kind of loose, right? Put a little bit of my favorite secret ingredient, xanthan gum. Just a couple of pinches. That's it, right? You can barely see it. Give it a whisk. That's it. Stick it in the fridge, let it be by itself and do its thing. And then we're gonna go to the taters. Sorry, chips. All right, let's talk taters. The taters that most people eat have been frozen, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I thought If we're gonna be doing everything from scratch, might as well just go all the way and show you how to do chips or fries from scratch. But if you don't have the time, or you don't feel like it, or for whatever reason, you just want it to be quicker, go ahead, go to the store and get some frozen French fries and just deep fry them at home. You can bake them. That's all I'll say. But if you start with a fresh potato, you can use Yukon Golds if you want, because that's become very popular. But I have found that the common russet is the best because of its starch structure. You get a nice fluffy interior with a nice crispy exterior. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut off both ends. That really just helps so that you don't get these really thin edges at the end of the potato, and those they tend to burn. So, and I'm not actually going to peel these. You don't have to peel them. I'm not going to, make it a little bit more rustic. And I'm also going to cut off one side here. You can cut this side off too, but I am cutting off this side so that it doesn't slip and slide all over the board. And if you have a knife that has these grooves, that helps with the, sometimes you put your knife through the potato, right? And it gets stuck because it creates a vacuum. And this prevents those grooves. So anyway, for these potatoes, I'm gonna cut them somewhere between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. And then go ahead and cut them into, so you just do that with all the potato. And as you cut them, go ahead and put them into cold water. And that does two things. It prevents them from getting brown, and it also removes some of the surface starch. At that point, you can keep these in the fridge for a day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever you want, and then come and make your French fries. So I'm gonna cut the rest of these and be right back. I have a pot of boiling water. I'm gonna be using some apple cider vinegar because that's what I have. Don't use anything like red wine vinegar or balsamic or something like that. You can use a white wine vinegar or this. And you wanna put in maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons or so. Now we're gonna put our potatoes in, and we are going to pre-cook or parboil. See how that's starch? So what we're doing here, we're parboiling or pre-cooking the potatoes because we want them to cook all the way through and be nice and tender. You don't want to boil the water because that will make them fall apart. So you're just gonna lightly poach them until they get to just the right tenderness. Let's give them a little bit of time and we'll come back. For me, this has now been simmering away for about 5 minutes or so. And again, it's gonna depend on how thick your fries are, right? So what you're looking for is, you don't want them completely done. Well, I'm almost done. I'm gonna pick one out here. And I wanna show you what you're looking for. See how it kind of bends? It's flexible and then it finally breaks. But you can look in there and you can see it's so sort of fluffy. Once it reaches that point, you wanna put your potatoes on a rack over a sheet pan, so that way you get air circulation. You want no more water with these potatoes, okay? Once they go into the oil, you want them to be as dry as possible. So if you put them on paper towel, the side that's on the paper towel is going to remain moist. Now you can like flip them back and forth, right, with the paper towel and whatnot, but you have to keep doing that. With this technique allows all the water to drip off and stay away from the potatoes. I'm just gonna kind of spread them out like this, okay? And once they're totally cool, they're ready to fry. The first time, we're gonna do double dip. Batter up. Just couldn't help myself. Yes, this is the part where we're gonna make the beer batter. I like to actually use a dark beer. You can use a Pilsner if you want. So what I have here is AP flour, otherwise known as all-purpose flour. You can use cake flour because it has a lower protein content, or just all-purpose. I also have here rice flour.
The rice flour is basically just a starch. There's no protein in there. There's protein in the flour, right? You want a little bit of protein because it helps you get some structure to your batter, so it doesn't just like slide off and fall off and everything else. So I like to use rice flour. You can use cornstarch, you can use potato starch, but I like the white rice flour. And then in here, I have diamond kosher salt, baking powder, and I like to put just a touch of sugar. It's not gonna make the batter sweet, but it is going to help with the batter browning. Now, when you add the beer, make sure the beer is cold, okay? And add a little at a time. You are looking for a texture that is thinner than pancake batter, okay? Almost like a crepe batter or heavy cream. You don't want a batter that's too thick. If it's too thick, you're gonna get a crust or that's really too thick. You want something that's gonna be thin, but not so thin that it falls right off the fish. Again, just eyeing it. There we go, loosened up. You want your beer cold because it maintains the carbonation better than warm. And that's sort of what you're looking for, that texture right there. See that? Once you get it to that point, stick it in the fridge, anywhere between 15 minutes or half an hour, and then you're ready to go. Isn't that nice? It's kind of nice looking, isn't it? There's just something about a nice big fillet of fish. This right here is cod. I couldn't find haddock because I'm on the Pacific coast. But you can use cod. It's a very traditional fish to use. Much easier to find than, say, hake or haddock or anything else. Now, as you can see, this is a whole fillet and it tapers. So this part here obviously is much thicker than this part. You can't cook the whole thing like this because this is going to take a lot longer to cook. So what you do if you get something like this is kind of eye it. This is sort of where it starts to turn, if you will. I'm going to cut it like that. Deal with this part first. I'm going to cut it in half again. Now, you can fry a piece like that. There's nothing wrong with it. Or you can cut it into, and what happens is this gives you more surface area to batter, right? You're sort of equaling out the cooking time between the thicker one and the thinner one. So this one I'm going to cut like that, and this I'll cut like that, right? So it's not quite, but it's in the neighborhood. This one, okay, I think I might just cut this off because it's just way too thin. I'm not gonna throw it out though. And that one I'll just cook like this. So that would be the way you would treat an entire fillet, is cut them in such a way that you're not overcooking the fish and leaving it in the oil too long, and you have a nice fish surface to batter ratio. Anyway, there you have it. So here now I have a heavy bottom cast iron enamel pot. You can use anything that's heavy bottom because it kind of retains the heat. That's why I like cast iron as well. And I've got the oil at about 355, 360. Reason being, when we put the potatoes in there, the temperature is going to go down like maybe close to 100 degrees. So I've got it on the higher side, but we're not going to be cooking it at that total temperature. So here we have the fries. See how they're nice and flexible, right? Isn't that kind of cool? If you don't want to use your hand, you can use this, but don't use those. Make sure whenever you fry, you give yourself some room at the top here. I've actually got a little bit too much oil because you see how it comes up? So I'm kind of put in maybe a third to start. This is pre-fry. This is the key. We're going to cook them now even more, right? Because we already boiled them. But now we're going to give them a skin on the outside. But we're not going to cook them all the way through to the point where they get nice and crisp and perfectly done. What we're doing now is giving them a skin so that way when we take them out, right, they're going to get soft again. When you're ready now to serve, you know, your fish is ready and everything else, you dump them back in. Doesn't take as long to cook, and you get that nice crispy exterior and that fluffy interior because now it's cooked all the way. And now I'm going to take them and put them on another rack. And because these are on the thinner side, right? They're not really thick. It doesn't really take that long. So I'm gonna keep doing this. And then we're ready to do the fish. So I've seasoned one side. I'm gonna flip them over. And again, I'm using Diamond Kosher. Pepper. We got our oil that's ready. We got our flour. And we got the batter. I'm gonna take 4 pieces that are the same size. Remember when we cut them before? This is from the thicker side. These are from the thinner sides. So once you've got your flour on there, okay, stick it in the batter. Okay, I'm just gonna do 4 to begin. It's just that perfect color. So these are almost done. You can see they don't really take very long. I would say 4 minutes or so. I fry the fish first. Like I say, put it on the rack and stick it in the oven because I do the fries second because you want to serve those fries as soon as they come out of the oil. This will stay crispy. There we go. So there's one. Okay, look at that. That's nice. And there's 2 more. Very important. As soon as they come out, you want to salt them. Yeah, again. Most of it's going to fall off, but you want to salt them again. And now I'm going to stick those into an oven while I do the rest of the fish. Okay, our fish is done. Our French fries are going to get their second frying. Now, don't overcrowd. And then obviously, just like the fish, when these come out, you want to salt them. So that way it sticks. I want to show you. Watch this. Watch this. Did you see that? Did you see that? They just cracked from the outside, but then look how fluffy they are.
Hey mate, fish and chips.
Nice and crispy. And I'm getting all fancy. I put our tartar sauce in a little cup on the side. So let's try this. I like to take a little spoon and dollop. You can dunk. Damn, that's good. I gotta tell you, this is a really good batter. It's got a great taste. The fish is nice and juicy. And of course, the fries. You're gonna have fun with this. Your kids will have fun with this. Anybody who helps you in the kitchen is gonna have fun with this. So please subscribe, please like, because I like you. And ring that little bell, because it's very important. You wanna know when we come out with the next episode. Okay, so give it a shot and let me know what you think. Damn, that's good.